David Blaine is in town.
Yep, we saw the
Opening night.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
I really liked it. What did you think?
There was a moment, so the opening of the show was so good, so spectacular. I had a moment right after the very first thing that we see where I was like, oh shit, am I about to see the best show? Am I about to see my like dream show? And the rest of the show was still good. It did not follow the amount of paradigm breaking, crazy new things that the opening did. And I'll tell you what the opening was. But the rest of the show was, great standard David Blaine, amazing stuff. And he held his breath for 9 minutes in front of us while Edward Norton, talked on it.
I think you're taking this for granted. You're saying it was standard David Blaine stuff, but he's a world record holder who's a magician.
Yes.
And then he's just like, I'm just going to set this world record. And to do it for real on stage, and then I love Edward Norton. And that wasn't even part of the plan. He was just in the audience, and he's like, come on up, narrate this for me. I think we might have gotten a bit Blaine spoiled, where I agree that the opening was the best part, but the whole show was paradigm shifting.
All right.
So let's talk about the open.
Well, I walk into the theater. It's 30 minutes before showtime, and Blaine is so cool and so low key. He's walking around. He's 6 feet away from me. He's walking around the theater taking selfies with people. He's just like, hey, how you doing? What's up? Hey, man. And he's just walking around as they're putting a microphone on him, and he's tightening a harness around himself. And behind him, there's this bouquet of balloons that's like 20 feet high, 20 feet wide, giant weather balloon sort of things. Beautiful looking in this thing. And he starts hooking in. And he's got some tethers down. The guy's holding him up. And he floats up maybe 20, 30 feet in the air. And he's saying hi to the balcony. He's pulling the tethers. And he's moving himself around the theater, which is giant. This is the same theater that Katy Perry does. And he's just, he came down to me. He pulled down the tether. He's like, hey, what's up? And then he comes back up because I had nobody in my row at the time. So he was able to like come right down. And then you see in the distance that the stagehands are setting up cardboard boxes. And you're like, oh, he's going to drop from the balloons into the boxes. No. He has a scaffolding, and he swings from the balloons on another tether, and he climbs up the scaffolding 73 feet in the air, and then he waits 10 minutes, which I liked. I thought that was very good. I was absolutely into just how long he was up there.
I could have gone another 20 or 30 minutes.
It was great.
It's so interesting, this breaking of curtain he did at the beginning, where we're always taught, don't break curtain before the show. But I think with Blaine, it's in a different place because he doesn't really have a curtain the whole show. There's no pretense of like, I am this mystic force, I'm better than everyone. Open the curtains, everyone applaud for me. Right. There was no applause cues the whole show. So I think because he's not concerned about being seen a certain way, or if he is concerned, he hides it better than the rest of us. Yeah. He's okay with just you come into the theater like, hey, let's get a selfie. Yeah, do you want a selfie too? Great. At the beginning of the show, he's okay with that.
Yeah, and that vibe is so cool, and it allows for a lot. And he was able to do stuff that we've seen on the talk shows and things like that for the rest of the show, in addition to, this is a hard show to do. Because first of all, so talking to our friend Ryan Stock, he was like, that's the craziest opening ever, because minimum you have a mild concussion. You absolutely black out for a minute.
And he looked bruised up
yes.
there. And so Justin was saying he climbed 73 feet high, and there he is, and it becomes clear to everyone in the audience, not a trick. He's going to jump from there into the boxes. Didn't look like that many boxes to me.
It was maybe as tall as you, as tall as me. So like 4 boxes high. These are just regular cardboard boxes, which is a thing that you can do.
Yeah.
But still, you're going to get a concussion, you're going to black out, you're going to bruise yourself up. you just got in a car
He looked
accident.
bruised. When he was doing the card tricks and stuff, his arms, he was bruised.
Right, so he's going to do a full 90-minute show after that jump, and then he's going to do it the following night? Jeez. That's insane.
Yeah. Now, why do we think he started the show with that jump instead of closing the show?
Well, the breath hold, I think, is probably even more taxing, which is
Got it. So, after you do the breath hold, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs that intermission before the breath hold so that he can suck oxygen for 20 minutes.
Right. And is that a magical thing? I mean, he discussed it on when he did it on TV, that he's increasing the amount of time that he can go under. But we don't see him doing that in the live show.
No, I mean, he did it openly on Oprah, and it's two different records. There's just a regular breath hold with a lot of hyperventilating and packing your lungs. And then there's the one on oxygen, where you're filling every cell in your body with as much oxygen as possible. And you can do a longer breath hold there. And he did break the record on Oprah after first failing in his TV special, which kind of makes the special even more legendary. It's all winning. It's all great.
Oh yeah, he was such a winner, and it was clear how much he was winning this night because of the people in the audience. Where
Rob Lowe, right in front of me.
You have been the most viewed person on the internet the past year, but the names that were there, oh boy, for all of our views, there was some, we'll say, traditional celebrities.
Right. There. Because no matter the views that I've got, I'm not saying my name, I'm not promoting a brand.
Right.
I'm just trying to make silly videos.
Right. And there's people there who certainly were saying their names, promoting brand, which is
Logan Paul
and David Dobrik. Were the big ones. And our friend said hi to David Dobrik, and he was not into it.
Yeah, I didn't see the exchange.
Yeah. I didn't see it either, but I saw how quick it was. Yeah. Where MC and Ellie went up to say hi, and I feel like they would do a good job of saying hi in that scenario. And MC came back a second later saying he doesn't want to say hi. All right.
Yeah. He was kind to me just by Instagram DM because he was going to borrow my dragon, which is an optical illusion thing.
Sure, people are always kind when they need something from you. He was kind to me too. When there was a clip he did the invisible chair trick. So who invented this invisible chair trick?
It's a longer.
It's in a footnote.
Correct.
Right.
So Paul Harris, who is like
Paul Harris, of course.
Yeah. Well, Paul Harris wrote it with whoever was writing, potentially Eric Mead, with him on Art of Astonishment. And he goes, wouldn't it be weird if you stooged a whole audience to make one guy think that he disappeared? And they kind of jammed on it just in a paragraph there at the end. They don't really give any other details. Well, my friend Nate Staniforth out of Iowa, the guy who invented the lottery prediction. Yeah, he's like, let's actually do it. He gave it to a friend. I forget the friend who got it. Maybe Daniel Martin or someone who got it, marketed it, which is where Justin Willman got it to do it on Netflix. But Nate Staniforth kind of put the thing behind it and said, no, if we get the guy backstage, we can really talk to the audience, and workshopped how to teach an audience to make a person think they're invisible.
When I was younger, I think I always took the side of the originator of an idea. But as I grow older, I find myself being more sympathetic to the producer of an idea, where I'm like, yeah, I was young, I had a billion ideas, but actually doing something, that is the harder thing.
Right, so it's nice that Paul Harris put it in a footnote in Art of Astonishment.
It's great.
It's a nice idea. Without it
What's
being
your favorite thing in Art of Astonishment, aside from Fizzmaster?
The Bizarre Vanish. The Bizarre Vanish utilizes a card. So you think you've got two aces and a queen, and you sandwich the ace between the queens, and you hold on to it. Yeah. And when I just remove the queens away, the ace vanishes in your fingers. You feel it. Yeah. I really love it.
You know which one I love and did a lot? When I say did a lot, I messed around with it. I don't know if I performed it for people, but it was the jumping pen marks.
Was it on the fingers or on?
Yeah, it's in the crease of your fingers.
Right.
There.
The one that I always wanted to try, I forget exactly what it was, but you go to your parents' deck, their backyard deck, and you super glue a dime onto the deck, okay? And now you cover that dime with a nickel shell. And now you bring in your own dime that's loose and what you're going to do is he has some way of circling it with the coin or whatever, but he moves over the shell to the other dime, and then he says, and now you won't be able to pick up the dime.
Oh.
And the person goes up and they're like, what the, I can't lift up the dime. And then you switch the shell back, and now...
That's great. And I think when we were younger, we would have looked down on situational magic like that can only be done in the house, that couldn't be done as a gig. But then as we get older, we realize that is how a lot of magic is in fact done. We're not always doing the gig. A lot of times we are with our friends, our families.
But also, like, if you're doing a gig, like, let's say you're at a restaurant, why not super glue a penny to some table?
Oh yeah, magicians love bragging about how many cards there are on the ceiling.
Do you think restaurants have to hate that?
Yeah, that's got to be the first thing. Like, oh, you guys have a magician at your restaurant? Do they do that thing where they're like fucking up your ceiling?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Why does everyone have to fuck up our ceiling? Right. I did table hopping for 2 weeks back in Michigan. I hated it. I was bad at it. I did not have the confidence, and I still don't, to go up to strangers and just say, hey, I know you're here with your friends and family talking about these things. Let me show you these tricks and pay attention to me instead, and then tip me.
The problem with it is, if you aren't providing something better than what their conversation is, you are interrupting. So you have to bring something, or you have to believe, and they have to believe, that you're about to bring something of more value than whatever they're doing. It's an arrogant thought. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And
I'm more interesting than your family.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And the problem is...
Don't pay attention to your son. Pay attention to me,
right.
Stranger who wants your money.
Mm-hmm. It makes the assumption that people want to see magic tricks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had a experience here in Vegas where I was out with LA people. We know what I mean when I say LA people, right? People in the industry. We can get that in our heads. And table hopper.
There's millions of people in LA. I'm sure there's people who are LA people who aren't in the industry.
Fun fact, there's actually not, because everyone is. And this table hopper came by. It's someone I knew from Gary Darwin's Magic Club. I've never seen him work before. Saw him work. Wasn't great. And the people at my table, they applauded. They said, wow. They gave him a $10 tip. He left, and they were like, oh my God, he was so bad. I thought he would never leave. And I got upset with these people I was dining with. I'm like, well, why did you act all amazed? And why did you applaud for him? Because he goes away, and he doesn't know how bad he is, and he's never going to get better.
No, he's not. Because people are actually too nice to magicians. If they know the method, they don't tell you they know the method. That's why actually the internet is so great, because on YouTube comments, people have no problem telling you what you think. And I was so excited when people started calling me a demon, because that meant that I was actually doing...
They have the wrong method.
And it meant that I was actually doing a good enough trick. Nobody thought my magic was demonic when I was doing, like, temple screens, silk handkerchief appearances.
But also, they said they dismissed it. They just dismissed it with the method of you're a demon.
Yeah, so I fooled them.
They didn't think they were fooled.
No, they didn't think they were fooled. That's right.
They thought they had the explanation, which was just witchcraft. Okay, so he jumps down off the thing, right?
Yeah.
So then next, does he go into the needle and thread trick?
Yeah, he threads his mouth shut.
Boy, what a move, where he's got this needle and he threads his mouth shut, and I think we can reveal the secret to this here.
We should just do it.
Yeah, you just don't be a baby. Just do
Oh,
it.
I'm a baby for that. I'm not doing that. Okay. So there was the needle through the fakir when you pull the thread out of your stomach. All right, like you're actually threading yourself, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. It's just 1 second of pain. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just bunch up my stomach and jab the needle through it. Just gonna do it. Here we go. You can't.
Can't do it.
You can't at all. As soon as your body just forces you to stop. So the fact that he's doing that every night again through his lips, really, really something. He must have really good elastic skin because his wounds seem to close up.
And then it's a card trick because, of course, everything's a card trick.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a card trick.
No.
Then what else does he do? He does frogs. He regurgitates frogs.
Yep. Coat hanger.
Right, which is the Ryan Amber trick.
Yeah.
And right now his frogs are being watched by Ryan and Amber.
Yeah.
Where they also have a fun setup with their spider, where they've got a spider in a box, and it's a real spider cage with a real spider in there. But also, it's got one of these tricky things that I got from the magic store when I was a kid. I got a mongoose at the magic store when I was a kid. Did you ever get one of these mongoose boxes?
No.
So it's a wooden box with like fencing material on the front. And it says, big letters like caution, live mongoose.
Right.
And in the back, there's a stick, and the stick is attached to a piece of brown fur. So you put your hand in the back to control the stick, and you can move it around. So people see there's the box, it says caution mongoose, and there's brown fur moving around. And then you say, let me get it out. You open up the top of the box, and it springs at them.
It shoots at them. Great.
It shoots at them. So Ryan has a real spider a container with a real spider in there, but also it's attached with the prank where it shoots a fake spider at you, and I think the frogs are living next to this. So you get
close. He's like, look at the spider. You're looking at a real spider moving around, and then all of a sudden a spider hits you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd mess you up.
It's so good. And now the frogs are living a great showbiz life, next to the spider. Which means that Blaine is not killing these frogs as he's doing the trick.
It made my girlfriend cry. The frogs.
Yeah, because it's
Anna
so
cried.
beautiful.
Anna cried because she didn't like seeing the frog go in anybody's mouth.
It was alive when it came out.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And Ryan and Amber assured her frogs are healthy and they're good. Yeah.
Gets to be in show business.
Right.
Look, I think there's a lot of frogs out there in the wild who have a tough go of it. A bigger frog just comes and eat them. These frogs, they're living with a showbiz spider.
Do you think people can still do dove acts?
What do you mean? Without, upsetting animal rights people?
Well, it's not just animal rights people. Like, the general public. When the general public see a dove act, are they like, cool? Or are they like, that bird is in that fucking jacket?
No, for some reason, we're not at that point yet where I haven't seen that hatred around doves. Let's talk about dove abuse. So there I was at Tannen's Magic Camp, and this guy... Mario was he was one of the older instructors there, and he was the dove master.
Would he still be alive now?
My guess is no.
Okay.
So
he's the dove master at Magic Camp.
Yes,
You did Magic Camp. I did not do Magic Camp.
I did Magic Camp. There was me. I roomed with Micah Lasser for one night, but only one night because then he got moved to be with cooler kids because it was clear he was, too cool for me. He had a book published when he was 14, so he wasn't going to be stuck in the dorm with me. The main thing I remember is there was a couple of female campers, like 3 or 4 female campers, and we all wanted the female campers to pick our cards, but they were picking the cards of the counselors and spending more time there, and that frustrated those of us there. So
Dove Master.
It's Michael Lasser. Oh boy, I got to tell this story. This is so crazy. So it's Tana's Magic Camp, and Michael Lasser does this trick in the competition where he has a signed baseball, and it goes into a sealed can of peanuts. And all the kids are amazed by this. And look, I'm not the best magician, and I probably think I'm better than I am, but even young Ricky was like, well, didn't it go in from the bottom? Like, we saw the seal at the top, but isn't there some way it goes in the bottom?
Right.
Anyways, he would not tell the other kids how it's done, which was a problem, because at Tana's Magic Camp there was one rule, and the one rule was, we are here to learn. If you do a trick to someone else, you must show them how it's done. So now here's Michael Lasser, who is flagrantly violating this rule by refusing to tell all the other campers how the signed baseball goes in.
Was the rule, I'm not arguing, but I'm asking, was the rule an unwritten rule, or was it...
I don't remember, but I remember it being said to us. I don't remember, like, the document, but it was passed on to us by whoever it would have been. Tony Spina or Bob Elliott or whoever was, like, leading this. Yes, it was made clear this was the culture. So now there's this uprising of kids who are very upset that Michael Lasser isn't doing the rule. So they go to the counselors and they say, hey, Mike is violating rule number 1. We want to know how the signed baseball got into the sealed tin of peanuts. So the counselor said, we're going to have to meet to discuss this. And we're all curious, what's it going to be? Is the rule going to hold, where he is to tell us, or are they going to change the rule? Because already it was very clear. The counselors liked Michael Lasser. We saw there was different treatment with the girls in the camp, and we're like, we're not sure how this is going to go. In their wisdom, I remember the verdict was, the rule holds. If you perform a trick, you must reveal the secret, but we're making an exception for Michael Lasser's peanut baseball trick.
So he didn't have to reveal anything.
He did not have to.
Does that put a rift between him and the other?
Yes, but it was very clear from...
He was already counselor-ish.
Yes, he was already way too good to be there. Like, this 14-year-old kid was going places and didn't need to hang out with a bunch of other 14-year-olds. Did I mention he was a published author? Like, his book had just come out, which was amazing. It was a book for the general public. He was like the Joshua Jay of his era.
Well, it sounds like if it's... All right, so if you're getting a baseball into a sealed can of peanuts and you're not inspecting the bottom of it, then yeah, it's coming up the bottom. Is it feeding up himself? Like, is he putting it up there?
I'm sure it was.
Or if it's a mechanical thing. Either way, it seems like, look, I'm not worried about these other kids stealing this.
I think you'd put the peanut thing like upside down underneath the table, right? And then the ball goes there. And so all the peanuts are now at the bottom, which is really the top. And you would just set it in and affix some bottom, flip it around.
Right.
Yeah, you just use like a can opener to get the bottom open.
Right, and that's...
I assume.
Well, the thing is...
Any other method would be, like, weirdly complicated.
Right, and what is it...
Sorry, Mike Michaels, I know your brain goes to how can I do a $5,000 thing. I like Mike Michaels. That's just a weird joke.
The question... Well, yeah, but so there is...
I might get Mike Michaels as his automated bird. I'm thinking about it, Mike.
Now, here's the thing.
Animatronic.
So when it comes to brute force or, like... interesting, ingenious mechanism that does a thing. I had 2 tricks where a ring would appear inside a gumball machine. Mm-hmm. One, I could make for you in 5 minutes with just with a hammer, okay? And then the other one was this collector's workshop, $3,000 crazy base where you would drop a ring in a place and a pulley would grab it and shoot it.
I want one of those so bad.
Now, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because to set it, you had to, like loading a Civil War rifle. You had to stick a thing, twist a thing, pull it, and all this.
That sounds fun.
No, because one woman's ring just went away for the rest of the show.
Oh, that's a bad look.
Okay, and so I borrow the woman's ring. Mm-hmm. We do a little bit of magic, and all of a sudden now, okay, it's in the gumball machine. Third about to come out.
Yeah, magicians are really okay with emotionally abusing people on stage.
It's crazy.
Like, give me your wedding ring. Trust, it's for showbiz.
I didn't realize that until I was married. That when I was at the castle and somebody's about to bring my former wife on stage and borrow the ring, and I was like, I don't like this. Like I know that prop, and I know it's not. So anyway, the woman's ring was stuck inside of a machine, and I had to say, in front of everybody, I'm like, okay, so I know this looks like a bit. The ring's really gone, okay? And she's like, And I'm like, so no, we're going to move on. You're going to feel weird because I'm going to really move on. And then when the house lights come up, come to me and we will take apart this.
And she's like, okay, let's see where this bit's going.
Yeah.
And you're like, so take your seat. Okay.
Right. But no. And then I brought her backstage and we cracked open the prop and found her ring.
Yeah,
rough times.
We think like, well, we're doing a trick, so it's okay to insist on someone's ring. It's not, though. Now, here's the best thing I did with someone's jewelry. So I'm there at the Magic Castle with David Blaine, who is a friend and an amazing comedian and a great magician. Right. If you want to see some of his magic chops, you can see the Netflix show. He's on the first episode of Murderville. He's most known from The State or Stella. And so there we were. He's on a date with an actress that I'm a fan of. I'm not going to say who. And this is years ago. So he's on a date with her. They're having a great time. She's had a drink or two, as one does at the Magic Castle, maybe 3. Who's counting? Right. So we're standing now. It's the end of the night, and we're standing to get our cars because I don't know how LA works, but somehow people can, just
drive home from the castle, no matter what.
If you're going on a date with a magician and you're a petite woman and you've been enjoying the night, maybe you can metabolize alcohol faster. I don't know. But there we are waiting for our cars. And we're at the top of the hill. Now, the Magic Castle, if you've been there, but for those who haven't been there, you'd have to explain to them, it's the top of a very steep hill. It's hard to walk up. The cars really, you go up, but it is down. You wouldn't want to fall.
It's a full 45-degree angle. Yeah.
If you're walking up there like with heels, you're gonna struggle.
You can't. Which is why you don't park. You have to valet at the castle.
Yeah, it's the only way to go. So there we are. We're at the top of it, and I like, when possible, to do magic tricks with just the objects around me. Happens so rare these days. But I've got a quarter in my pocket, and I see she's got these nice earrings on, and I'm gonna do this bit here. So I say, all right, I'm gonna show you one last trick before the night's over. I say, give me your earring. So she gives me her earring, and I masterfully do the move. It's not even a magic trick. It's just a gag.
Just a switch.
Just a switch, where I take the earring, and then I palm the earring, and I throw the quarter.
Oh, right. This is a good gag. Yes.
Great gag, and this is the perfect place for it.
Well, it creates the illusion, just so it's clear.
Yes.
It creates the illusion that you've thrown her earring across the parking lot when actually you've thrown the quarter.
Right, it's just in my hand, the earring.
I did it on my brother's wedding day.
How did it go?
So it didn't go.
It didn't go good.
But keep going.
This one didn't go good either. So maybe we have to rethink things. I thought this was going well because you could see metal flying. You hear the unmistakable ting of metal hitting pavement, and then it goes down. And in my head, I'm like, that was a pretty good performance. And I didn't expect her response. Her response was something I never would have thought of. What she did was she took off her other earring and threw it down the hill. And I go, oh, it was a joke. Here's your earring. And she kept that one. She kept the one I gave back to her.
What?
Yeah, she thought it was this like fun, free moment where we were all throwing our jewelry down a hill.
That reminds me of, like, they prank a dad with the broken TV image.
Uh-huh.
So they put up the image that makes the TV, the flat screen, look like it's broken. Dad comes in and he loses
furious.
it, and he grabs the TV and breaks it. Like, it's like, no! Oh, now we actually did damage. Your thing wasn't innocent.
I thought. What was your thing with the...
So I knew I'm supposed to have the ring. They're going to turn to me and ask for the ring. Mm-hmm. This is for my brother Jordan. And I thought, what'll be really funny is if I whip my hand out of my pocket and we hear ting, 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 ting.
Great.
All the way down of metal falling like I've dropped the ring.
Of course.
And then I go, oh, here's the ring. And I do that thing. So I do that. And people thought I messed up. Mm-hmm. They just thought that I was an idiot and I had shit in my pockets, and I just whip out my hand and coins go flying.
Oh, they thought it was a coin, and they
put it together later.
Okay. They were just like, Justin was not prepared for this moment and not very respectful to his brother's wedding.
No, it didn't play. It played better than my older brother's wedding, where I can roast my siblings during their wedding a fair amount. But I think I was in a dark place when I did my brother Josh's wedding. Nothing landed. It was bad. That's
how you know you have a lot of siblings, when you can say, usually I can roast my siblings at their weddings.
Yeah. I'm always proud if I nail the speech and I get the laughs I want. Like, I sit down to write and I do it. I'm always inspired by Steve Martin, because he would always do a very good introduction, even if it was just introducing Tommy Smothers at the Oscars. Like that, I love the line he does for it. He's introducing Tommy Smothers for a Lifetime Achievement Award or whatever, and he says, I don't use the word genius very often. I just thought I'd mention that. And then he just keeps going, and Steve Martin was great.
And yet another magician.
Yeah.
So many of us. Okay, so David Blaine, he sews this up, he regurgitates the frogs, he does the breath hold, and then when the show is done, see even more celebrities, where there's
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson, big fan of Woody Harrelson, also a magician now, new to magic. He did the book test on Letterman,
which he slayed.
Yeah, what was that subtlety he did with the book?
So the subtlety was to finish the book during the selection process, and look a little bumbling. Look like you've never worked with these particular books before. He was like being a great actor and also understanding the moving parts, because his counterpart in the film, Now You See Me, Jesse Eisenberg,
yes.
When Jesse went on late night to do...
He did a top change.
He did a snap change, but didn't understand the mechanics of the trick, because he flashes the method to all the cameras. Only Dave was fooled.
Look, I've been doing snap changes now for 30 years, but I would not do that on TV. The odds of not hitting it are so great, which, of course, he didn't hit it because he's only been doing it for so long. But we really got to think about trick selection.
But Woody Harrelson, great trick, great scripting. Neil Patrick Harris also does good late-night magic. And it's always very simple, linear magic. Maybe it really is more on the gag. Like, he has a gag where, he pulls out an envelope with the prediction of whatever, and then the envelope says, check my other pocket. And then he's just unloading envelopes from every part of his body until something comes out of his fly or something like that.
Which is nice, because most celebrities don't come with a bit prepared. So whenever a celebrity does and they're competent with it, that's fun. Okay, so now the show is over. Or no, he ends with an interactive card trick involving the cut deeper force, which people, if they're watching this, they might know that we're both big fans of the cut deeper force, and we did extensive work on that.
Our last Penguin release was only cut deeper, and if it wasn't that method, it was the other force that I love.
Also, that the Penguin release, it quietly got 5,000 to 10,000 downloads. So people are doing it. They are doing the tricks.
I didn't know that.
Of course, many of the comments are hateful shots at us for other things, which is just fine. As I'm sure we'll get those comments when you post this, wherever you're posting it.
I'm not.
But,
I'm not posting this.
posting it.
This is not interesting.
Yeah, leave the comments, guys. We've heard so much that it's fine. Whatever. You've got. So the show's over. We've got Woody Harrelson. Any other celebrities? I heard Eminem and who did I hear? Eminem and Dre were there.
That would be amazing.
Didn't see him. There's the albino alligator that's walking around the lobby.
Well, what I will say is every magician in town, and also many from out of town.
So who did we see?
Well, I really enjoyed. So to bring him up again, Nate Staniforth worked on the show.
Staniforth was there.
Yes, and he's the one who created lottery prediction for David. I just started to motion to a method for it because, like, he's the one who invented that method. It was so good. And
saw John Lovick there.
Nice.
Kyle, Misty Knight, Patty were there. Adam Trent from The Magic Maker was there.
Kaylin Morelli. Doug McKenzie. And then I saw a lot of he just did the bending key thing. He was a young creator. David Copperfield gave him that award, remember, on Good Morning America.
David Copperfield gave Kayla Drescher.
Right, but but Kayla, and then there was this other kid. This guy didn't win.
This guy got a participation, or did he get runner-up?
He got runner-up.
Okay.
But I'm blanking on his name right now. But
Jeff Price does the key thing.
That's it. Yes, Jeff is great.
When you said bending key, I thought it was that new bending key that we got at Magic Live, which.
It's not Jeff Price?
No, Jeff Price has a different key thing.
I have no idea.
Maybe that was Jeff too. At least the person who sold it to me, it wasn't Jeff. But this is a great thing. This bending key.
Yeah.
Got a Magic Live. It's a great thing where all you do is bend it. It's just a key made out of soft metal.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And I think when I was younger, I might have looked for the duplicate, hand it out, do the switch, all this. And now I'm like, I'm just going to cut to bending it.
Well, it depends on where you're performing it. If you're performing it, all right, so it's like anonymous magic writer, Jerks, goes by pseudonym Andy. He writes about this, and he goes, if the spectator or the audience doesn't want to see what magical thing just transformed, they either already know that it's BS and they know the method, so they don't even bother to ask, or they don't care. Like so both of those are bad.
Yeah.
So for them, at the end of a trick, they have to want to inspect the thing. But you're talking, both of us have used this key already, and we've used it on the internet, where they're never going to touch it or feel it or anything like that.
Can't inspect a trick on the internet.
Not at all.
Which is one of the reasons it's a great place to perform. You know, this whole podcast here, we've been talking about the David Blaine show, which I loved it. Sounds like you loved it as well. We love to see live magic. But also, I think we recognize that live magic is a niche thing. And the way that
most people watched magic today on their phone.
Yeah, that's how people are performing magic. That's how magic is being consumed. That's where the innovation is happening. Now, we like the live stuff too. No judgment against it. But if there's any live magicians, you know, who watch what you're doing here, and I don't care if they believe me or not, but if they want to, if they're complaining like, oh, there's no good stuff in magic, nothing good's happening anymore, why is this? There's a lot of good stuff happening, and I think they're just not seeing it because it's
it just doesn't look. It doesn't look like the magic that they grew up with, which is very strange for me because being that my dad was a magician, my uncle, my grandfather, and I went to magic conventions from 2 months old, and every single year until, well, I'm still going. Yeah. I have a foot firmly planted in the old school. Are you
still allowed to go to magic conventions after what you've done? Do they let you in?
So there's a few of them.
Okay. You've been kicked out by some.
I've been kicked out by some. There's a few magic conventions I can still go to. Stan let me come to Magic Live. Mm-hmm. That was nice. And everyone was very nice.
Yeah.
Everyone was nice.
Everyone was a baby.
Nobody said anything to my face.
No. They'll say stuff here. Boy, I'm excited to read all the comments here. It's fine.
The main thing is Magic has different goals. Like there's a lot of different goals within Magic, and you can't hit all of the goals at once. You got to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Okay? Something can't be sad and happy at the same time. Okay? So if you're going to create a sad piece of material, that's what you're going for. That doesn't mean happy material is bad.
That's been my guiding force and everything.
You just get to choose whatever you want. So sometimes magic tricks are deceptive, and they're fooling and astonishing.
Yeah.
But the truth is only like 2% of magic lives in that astonishing place.
I'd say less than 2%.
And I've been lucky. I've spent a lot of time in that 2%. Okay. But I've also spent a lot of time in like a audience interaction, laughing, having a good time. It's not crazy, deceptive trick, but we all had fun.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing, which also has purpose. And then there's one even beyond that, which is, hey, this is a really cool gizmo or method or device, and it's not going to fool you. Or if it does fool you, the only capacity it does in that is that you don't know how the device works. Yes. You don't know how the gizmo works.
So you're about Tenyo.
Right.
Tricks.
Tenyo tricks, you're like, all right, that little piece of plastic did a thing.
Yeah.
And it's our friend Wes. He just goes as a mechanism. And it's
sure
fascinating when he can watch the whole Chris Angel show. And we go, did anything fool you? And he goes, no, I just know that there was a mechanism that made him disappear here.
Thing. If people were saying you were a demon, it's the same thing. It's a thing that we know doesn't really explain what's done, but for people,
they're totally satisfied.
Explain it. They're like,
totally satisfied.
That's a mechanism. That guy's a demon. What's for dinner?
Right. And by Penn and Teller rules, not fooled.
Right. Penn and Teller rules is sleight of hand. That wasn't it. Also,
well, Penn and Teller rules shift over time.
That's right. Penn and Teller in the news, where Teller's having a heart surgery. We wish him well.
We like Teller. I like Teller a lot.
Yeah, I've got of course, a love-hate relationship with both of them, but boy, they're great. Teller is the things that they have done. They're largely the face of magic right now.
So right now, yes.
I pray that when I am their age, I have half the curiosity, half the drive, half the innovation that they have, especially recently on Fool Us, where their ending segments, which they perform, there was one, they went through a bunch of their back catalog. Then one season, I think it was 2 seasons ago, they're like, let's do just all new stuff. And there was some great stuff. So, holy cow.
So I feel bad I don't watch it. I should. You have had Fool Us watch parties. Then I can't. It's too much television. I can't watch that much television. But what I will say about Penn and Teller is their back catalog from the 80s, what they were doing was so radical. Here's one bummer thing, and this is not to knock Penn and Teller. They're very old, and they've got to take it.
This is not to knock Penn and Teller. They're very old.
Okay, I'll
Bill
fix it a little
Maher
bit.
is right about this. This is the last
acceptable
group of people to hate.
What I mean is they've earned the right to relax a little bit.
Yes.
Okay? That's what I mean. They have been around for much longer than me. They're smarter than me. They've got more material than me. They've done more than me.
Yeah.
And they've earned the right to just go on CNN and talk and not do a trick, okay?
Yeah.
But Jimmy Fallon is talking to 2 magicians about doing an appearance close together. They were talking to Penn and Teller. They were talking to me for Wizard Wars. And we got together and we pitched some really cool stuff to Jimmy Fallon. I forget what it was now. I know one of them was doing headphones on him, doing headphones through neck on Jimmy, which would have been really cool.
Sure, this was back when late night TV was a thing.
Right.
Before Greg Gutfeld started getting more audience than The Tonight Show.
So the guy on Jimmy Fallon, the producer, he was a magic he considered himself a magic aficionado, and he knew Harry Anderson material and like Penn and Teller material and things like that, because he worked for Letterman in the 80s when he had on these old magicians. So he says to me, these ideas are no good. I need you to bring the edge. I need you to do something crazy. We want like Penn and Teller and the crazy shit they would do where they'd like have a whole bunch of gnats or bugs come out of their mouth or under Letterman's hat or whatever else. And it fell apart. We didn't get to do Jimmy Fallon for Wizard Wars. Then Penn and Teller, they got booked on it.
Yeah.
And the trick that Penn and Teller did immediately following this interaction with Jimmy Fallon was pulling a rabbit out of a top hat. And I just lost my mind because I'm going, that's not the edgy thing. It was a fine thing.
Right, but now do you have a new assessment of it? Do you understand what was happening there?
Yeah, I was a nobody.
Yeah.
I am a nobody. They needed the celebrity thing. And their celebrity cachet is so high, they can do a lesser effect.
That's right.
Whereas if you're like no, it's a loop. Check this out. Mm-hmm. Because if you're Penn and Teller, you don't have to do. No, it's not a loop. It's if you're going to bring in a homeless guy off the street, the magic trick that he's going to do is going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
Or is it the opposite, where a homeless guy off the street can do almost anything?
We've got to be wrapping up at this point, right? What? I have no idea what's happening.
You don't like homeless magician does magic trick on late night?
It sounds fine. I'm just.
Yeah. What was your favorite trick that got to Wizard Wars because Penn and Teller celebrity judges on Wizard Wars? You had to have a favorite trick.
Boy, there was so many great ones. I love the simplicity of the rocking chair that Adam and Blake did, which is, the secret item was rocking chair. So
this is Blake Voigt, Adam Trent, and they got. So for those who don't know, for Wizard Wars, just teams of competing magicians would get ordinary objects, and they would have to create magic out of them. So they get a fire extinguisher, a fruit basket, and a skeleton, and they got to make a magic routine out of all those items.
Yep. So they got a rocking chair, and they used it in the cleverest way. They built a duplicate rocking chair out of paper.
Right.
That looked just like the real rocking chair.
Amazing.
They put some mechanism under there so you could sit on it.
There's that word again.
Sitting on it the whole... it's a mechanism. Those demons used a mechanism. They sat on it the whole routine. They finished, and then they're like, oh yes, and the chair. And then they stood up from the chair. They tore it to bits. And
it's a good-looking clip.
Is so good. And also Blake's wheelhouse, where Blake's, a paper guy.
Well,
we give him a rocking chair. He's like, I know how to do this with paper.
Right. That was the bit I said to him. I was like, all he does is paper magic. This Wizard Wars would be nice to free him up to do magic with things other than paper. And then
joke's on you, paper rocking chair.
Right.
Now backstage.
That's what I was going to ask you to tell, because I wasn't back there, but I heard about this.
I wasn't there, but I heard about it.
A tragedy.
Oh boy. So backstage, this paper rocking chair, he's up all night. Right?
And just so the listener can understand, like imagine your grandmother's rocking chair, an ornate, nice wood rocking chair. Now imagine taking 100 pieces of cardstock paper of the same color and folding it and gluing it into the shape of a rocking chair. That's identical.
Oh, so he gets this all done. It's in the holding room. They're not going to do it with rehearsal because you can only rip up a rocking chair once.
No.
And then there's, signs on it that says, do not touch, because it's a paper rocking chair. So one of our very talented associate producers, this is where I really learned about showbiz and how amazing associate producers are, how just talented and wonderful. They're all Stevens. Every one of them is better than Steven Spielberg.
Great. Okay.
They're really useful people to have around on set, and I'm so glad I got to learn from all of the associate producers. So, anyways, the sign said "Do not touch," and the one guy was like, and it's not his fault. He just thought, well, I'm gonna help out. There's this piano blanket here, and I'm gonna put it over the chair so no one can put anything
like
on
a
it.
big,
So
heaviest weighted
that God has ever invented. Just throws it on the chair, boom, and now Blake is redoing this before he's going on. He gets it mostly good. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good.
It reminds me of this thing. So at the Fellowship of Christian Magicians, one of the cool
Which you're still a member of, not kicked out.
They didn't kick me out.
How about that?
Well, you and I, we talked.
Christians forgive.
Yes, they do. Also, something we've never done for the secular, regular magic community is an open letter of what we think we're doing. But
that's because they were, and maybe this is because they're a Christian group, but they weren't like, go fuck yourself, you're out of here. They're like, we have some questions about what you're doing. And you're like, well, can I tell you a bit about it? And they're like, yes, you can.
Well, so the Fellowship of Christian Magicians was maybe going to kick me out for exposing a magic secret on the internet. And they grew up with me. I mean, they raised me. I was at every single international Fellowship of Christian Magician convention from birth until I was like 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so they were like, all right, Justin thinks deeply about everything. Surely, and really it's because I had some good friends in the leadership who were like, whoa, hang on. Let's think about it for a second. But at one of the early conventions, at the FCM, it was not just magicians. This is why it was great. There was clowns, jugglers, stilt walkers, chalk artists, storytellers, puppeteers, ventriloquists, all the art forms, jugglers, unicyclists, all there. And every day, the lecture schedule, there was only 2 magic lectures, and the rest of the 20 lectures were all of these other art forms. So me and my family would go, and me and my brothers, my little sister, I got to do everything. I got to learn a little bit of mime, got to build a puppet, and then later in the afternoon, I'm juggling. And then
it's so good if you're going to be a professional entertainer, even if you're only a magician, to have all those different skill sets. You'll find ways to use all of it.
And I have. And so, but that meant that there was a lot of commingling of these different art forms, which sometimes had bad results. Like this person had, at this time, this was brand new. Our friend, Losander, has an amazing table that floats in the air.
Yes.
Okay? It's an incredible piece of magic.
Yes.
It's beautiful, as Dirk says. Do it.
As he says, it's such a great trick. If you're a good performer, it'll make you look like a god, and if you're a bad performer, you'll still look pretty good. That's how good the trick is.
Yes. Well, but this is a fragile prop. That's all I'll say about the prop is it's fragile.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have been here for this. Nobody saw this happen, but a clown, an actual fully dressed clown with a tube television, like it was written. Okay, so full clown makeup, everything, and he's got a TV, and he's walking backstage, and he's like, "Where do I put this thing?" And he sees this table, and he goes, "Right there," and he sets it on the table. And everything is destroyed. Not just the table, like that falls apart. The TV, it's gone. Everything's destroyed. And the clown had to be like, what is this?
Yeah, this is why when magicians start dating people, they'd say, don't throw anything out in the house.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything. Don't look at it. Just assume it's a very expensive magic
There were these 2 quarters stuck together. I couldn't get them apart, so I threw them away.
No! I assume that was a double deception quarter that retails
yeah.
$99 at Penguin Magic.
Right. And then I broke one of my Losander full loading tables once because of my stupid ego. I'm done. It's my show closer at the time. This is like 2009. And I leave stage off the side, and the table's right there, center stage. And they go, let's hear it again, Justin Flom. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through the center of the curtain. I'm going to like whip the curtain like that and come through like, yeah. I whipped the curtain, and the curtain whipped the table to the front row. And it landed and just broke. It's bad. It was rough.
So what are you gonna do for this? If you talk to more people, what are you gonna talk about? Who are you gonna talk to?
I don't know. This was nice just to like talk for a second, because first of all, we can't be doing this, right? The podcast game way too saturated. That seems.
Yeah, as long as you go into it knowing that 6 people will listen.
Yeah, nobody's listening to this.
Yeah, I think low expectations is the key, where there's probably 6 people who will make it all the way through, and that's okay. We're doing other stuff for big numbers. We're getting numbers elsewhere.
The thing is we would have done this anyway, and it's trying.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to that point. Certainly, or no, both of us, we were a little on.
No. But we would have had this conversation anyway, with the exception of the information that we're,
Right, we were pretending, we were telling stories where we knew the ends of each other's stories.
Which makes sense because we're here at my Johnny Carson late night set.
That's right. But, maybe as something gets going, we have to get through those beats, and maybe, next show I have 2 drinks or a smoke and get more relaxed. Right. And then really start criticizing people behind their backs and making waves.
It's not behind their backs if it's on the internet. That's
Is there enough gossip here?
Well, what else is the gossip?
So much good gossip. We'll save it, right? This was good. This was a nice conversation about magic and about this very new, exciting show that's in Las Vegas that I highly recommend magicians see, because it is unlike what you've seen before.
Right, and I think it's going to be a lot of new material for David Blaine, because talking to a couple of guys working on the show, they're like, we had some last-minute changes. We're not putting in a lot of the new material, because a lot of that material was from his tour from 2018, which was all great. Still all great. That's still very new for this material. It's not all been on television and things like that, but he's got a guy who does, the digital magic on the team. I think Mark Kirsten is working on the show.
Okay. And they're working on new stuff.
Look, I have no idea, but Mark Kirsten kind of really only does one particular kind of magic. So I was really hoping that he was going to do a magic trick with my cell phone in the audience. Doug McKenzie too. Like their cell phone magic is bonkers.
Well, if he's got new stuff in there, I'd be curious to see it again.
Well, I'd go back.
Yeah, hell of a show.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got. We don't have to keep talking.
I'm out.
Yeah. Great. What do you think?
I think we spent all the time thinking about it. Now you can just, it's great. It's done. There's a thing. You can do it.